an Advaita perspective. We are on chapter 3, room number 10. You can catch up on the replays in Clubhouse, or there are 3 other sources where these talks are archived and you can access them on YouTube. The channel is called Advaita Retold. The other 2 links are for the Apple podcast and the Spotify. There is an alternative source for reading and examining through a book penned by Artemisia. It's called The Imaginary Door, based on Binduji's insights from an Advaita perspective. For housekeeping, I'm going to close the chat and the hand raising is off when Binduji is conducting the class for about an hour, after which we'll have about half an hour or so if you have any questions to come up and have a discussion. Thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and welcome to all of you. My invocations. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loga Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashi Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmiti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Gita Dhyana Shlokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvandi Divya Istavai Vedai Sangapadakramो Panishadai Gayanti Yam Tamaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om. In the 3rd chapter, we saw that up to the 16th verse, the picture of Karma Yoga, how it is for the Ajnani, those who are in the path of Karma. That is, Karma Yoga has been defined by Krishna in the 16 verses. On the 17th and 18th verse, which we did last week, it is very clearly indicated that for the knower or the jnani, since the doership and enjoyership is not present in him, no karma is possible. Or even if he is doing any karma, or apparently this, that is not with the doership or enjoyership. Therefore, the next verse, 3:19, which we are going to enter today, Krishna is saying that, therefore, since you are not a knower, O Arjuna, perform action without attachment. Now, apparently it is impossible, but has been made possible. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind the following. Argue lifelong karma synthesis, that is, karma and jnana cannot go on lifelong. Similarly, for a jnani, that knowledge and his karma do not go side by side. As a doer, he has to renounce the doership and enjoyership, or he doesn't have the doership and enjoyership in him, which is abiding in the knowledge. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, Tasmat, oh therefore, asakta satatam karyam karma samachara. Asakto hi acharak karma param apnoti purusha. So there are two statements. One is a prescription and the other one is more or less an explanatory statement. So in the first one, he says that Tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara. Therefore, always unattached, perform the action, what is your duty. He is addressing Arjuna that if you have not achieved the knowledge or you are not a jnani who has no doership and enjoyership, therefore you have to perform your duty always, but with no attachment. Asaktahi acharan karma purushaha param apnoti. Because indeed the person who performs actions while unattached proceeds to the supreme, param apnoti. Apnoti, the word is actually speaking, attains or reaches. So param apnoti means he reaches the supreme or he attains the supreme. The first sentence is the prescription and the second one is an arthavada, means eulogy, with an apparent falashruti in it. The falashruti is param apnoti. He attains the supreme state. The explanatory statement of the second statement is with a declaration where the fruit that motivates and justifies the prescription of the first sentence. Tasmat, therefore, for this reason, what has been mentioned, what is the reason? What has been said in the verses 17 and 18, that the jnani has no karyam and no artha sambandha, means no duty or no, artha sambandha means relation to the anything to be achieved or gained. Therefore, Krishna now turns to Arjuna. Since you are not yet a jnani, tasmad is for indicating that is tasmad means who you are not yet a jnani. The inference is not therefore even you need not act, but precisely the opposite. Therefore, you who is not a jnani, who are not yet a atmarati, must act. The freedom which a jnani enjoys from the non-doership and non-enjoyership cannot be known or achieved by you because you are still yet in the ignorant karma acharan state where karma has to be done. So freedom from karma established the ideal. Tasmat draws the practical consequence of a karma adhikari. So Arjuna is a karma adhikari. He is an eligible candidate for karma alone. But how can he do that? Even though he is a karma adhikari, everybody likes, because we should not forget the first question which Arjuna asked. You are talking about the knowledge as the supreme for the good, and at the same time you are instructing me to do the karma. Tasmat, therefore you should tell me, Nishchitam Bruhi. You have to tell for ascertain me, with certainty, or with certainty that which is good for me. Therefore, Krishna has the duty to tell Arjuna there. What is that? That is why asakta, unattached, without clinging, or freedom from attachment. Shankaracharya adds the word phala asakta, unattached to the fruits of action. Asakti is a specific poison that converts karma into bandha. Karma by itself is not binding. Please understand that. We will see how it is not binding, why it is not binding later. But asakti, or the asakta bhava, or the attachment, is what is creating the bandha, or the bondage to the cycle of birth and death. The action itself not, but the grasping of its results and the identification of oneself as the doer. Asakta is thus the inner orientation that transforms karma into karma yoga. Every karma is not a karma yoga unless you are renouncing the attachment toward the results. Shankaracharya connects this directly to Mukta Sangha Samachara. You remember the third 3.9 where we said that you will become freed, attached to the freedom. The same inner disposition described there as the condition for yajnartha karma. Yajnartham karmano anyatra. Mukta Sangha Samachara. Here he is prescribed in the manner perform of karya. So the word asaktaha is a very important word which we have to remember always. Asakti is the bhava, or is the nature of attachment. And that is the one which is making us bound to the fruits of action and the cycle of birth and death. He is also adding an adjective to that. Satatam asakta. Satatam means nirantaram, without a gap or a break. Otherwise, in other words, it is always continuously or perpetually without interruption. This adverb is very significant in the sense that it is not an occasional achievement or a special meditative state by Nitya Bhava, but a Nitya Bhava. It cannot be that to this I am not attached, but to that I am attached. Even if that is attachment is towards anything higher, there also you should not have any attachment. Saying that I am doing all my actions without attachment, and that notion, if you are attached to, even that is an attachment. So, attachment in any form is dangerous. That is why Shankaracharya uses the word Nitya Bhava. It is an eternal nature in which engagement in the action without attachment. A constant inner disposition. of the Karma Yogin. Every action, every moment is to be performed with the same Vairagya. Vairagya in the sense that it is not to the action, but to the fruits. Shankaracharya notes that Satatam also indicates the same injection, which is what is said that Nityam, Nirantaram. So Nitya Bhava is what it is being indicated by the word Satatam. This injunction applies throughout one's life as long as he is a Karmadhikari. There is no point at which the Karma Yogin may relax this asakti, this too into a state of asakti, while still doing in the domain of pravritti, when he is in a state of action. Now there are two words, karyam, karma, which the difference between these two is very important. Karyam is a accusative singular neutral gender. What is to be done or duty, obligation. It is the object of samachara, the word samachara. Shankaracharya reads the karyam as shastra vihitam karma. But for us, we should take that anything that is our duty falls under the term karya. Action specifically enjoyed as one's status and responsibilities. It will be a moral necessity, not a mere suggestion. And Shankaracharya says that it is similar, same as the niyatam karma, which was referred in the eighth shloka. The dharmic obligation that defines one's responsibilities in the cosmic chakra or in the yoga chakra. Then the other word karma is the karyam karma samachara. That is the words following one after the other. Here the karma is action, not what is to be done. There it is a duty is more important. Where here it is the action that is one's duty. The difference between duty and action, if it should be understood between these two words. The action that is one's duty is called a karma, and duty is called karyam. Shankaracharya reads the opposition as karyam yat tat karma, that action which is your duty. The two words together underscore that what is prescribed here is not arbitrary action, but specifically obligatory arising out of one's birth and the duties related to that. It is not that what we pick up at whims and fancies. It is the responsibilities and duties which are bestowed on us by virtue of birth. And when we deviate from that, we do not know whether we have deviated from our duties and responsibilities. Here is one important aspect that we may not know what are our duties and responsibilities due to our birth. As and when we grow, we are being instructed by the parents, the teachers, the society, and nation as a whole, and humanity as a whole. The do's and don'ts or the cosmic cycle or the nature to be well balanced. Our education is also giving a direction for us to evaluate our actions based on not our selfish interest, but for the benefit of the society as a whole. So that the dharma aspect in that will be picked up by us if we have been setting aside our egoistic, individualistic desires and learning the requirement expected out of us. Therefore, karyam, karma, these two should be understood very clearly so that we will not get confused about it. Then there is this execution part of it. Samachara. Chara means perform. Samachara means perform completely or carry out fully or doing it well, practice properly, any way which we can say. The same verb we came across, Mukta Sangas Samachara, in the 9th verse. There also Shankaracharya used the word Yada Shastram, in full accordance with the Shastra, with completeness and proprietary, not mechanical performance, but wholehearted, correct, complete execution. Here, we should and take it into mind because now we have moved from that initial the Vedic dictation to a cycle of yoga. So our canvas is much bigger to keep the cosmic requirement or the nature's requirement being part of the nature itself. So Samachara should be seen from, instead of Yada Shastram, we will have to see it from the point of view of Karma Yoga. Again the word Asakta comes a second time. Asaktahi Acharan Karma. These are the 4 words which are going together. Again unattached. He is an explanatory participle called indeed or because. Acharan, while performing or while acting, or in the very act of performing. Karma, we learned the word karma in the earlier place. So while performing action, so the word while performing action, the repetition of karma, both halves, karyam karma samachara, acharan karma, encloses the verse in an insistence of karma itself. Krishna is not suggesting any withdrawal from action, but transformation of the relationship from the inner poise, the way in which we have to look at the action. Therefore, The second portion, when asakta is told, it is the attitude with which karma has to be. First place we saw to do it unattached. Now in the second place, in the second aspect when it is saying that acharan karma, it is the transformation from the inner individuality by dissolving or by taking that our egoistic tendencies are not influencing our action. We may be unattached from the point of view of action and the fruits of action. But that should not lead us into a state where the action itself becomes boring to us. Because if the fruits of action is not there, the standard question which comes is that if we are not working for the fruits of action, why are we doing the action itself? There will be a disinterest in the action or a neglecting attitude towards action or our responsibilities, duties. That is what is being indicated by Krishna here. Only then, the next two words, param apnoti purushaha, these will become a phalashruti or a result. The word param is indicating of the supreme, the highest, the ultimate, or the other shore, or the, getting across. The supreme, the highest goal, is what is indicated by the param here. What is the supreme goal? Moksha, liberation, freedom from the bondage of the action. That is the param here. Characteristic precision, he does not say a karma yoga directly yields moksha. Shankaracharya's commentaries say, doesn't say that. Rather, he reads param apnoti as param brahma prapnoti. That is through the mediating process of chitta shuddhi to the jnana nishta and ultimately to moksha. And that is the param which encompasses both the fruit of andakarana shuddhi and the ultimate moksha. Therefore, the karma yogin who acts with asakta, both in the unattached way and with an inner relationship toward the performance of the actions, progresses through chitta shuddhi towards the supreme. Even though the word apnoti is attains, reaches, obtains, etc., the present tense here is functions as a universal and timeless declaration. Karma phala niyama. The invariable law that the unattached performer of action always attains the supreme. Indicating that invariable connection between asakta karma and param. Who? Purushaha. The person or the individual who thus performs unattached, permanent, eternal or nityam with an inner equipoise of not averting from the karma or not, disregarding karma as his requirement. He, through the chitta shuddhi, jnana nishta and the knowledge achieves the supreme. So the karma yogi is the one which is being indicated here by the word Purusha. And he is the subject of the verb apnoti. He is the one who reaches. Therefore, the practitioner of karma yoga is the one which helps a eligible candidate of karma to move towards moksha. Now, if we look into the commentary part of Shankaracharya, first he says, Tasmat, in this verse, Shankaracharya most logical way hinges this chapter to the previous two verses, 17 and 18, where the Jnani's complete freedom was explained from karma and artha sambandha. Since the Jnani need not act, neither should I, that question should not come. To ward off that is the why the word tasmat is used, which cuts off the inference precisely. The Jnani's freedom from karma is established not as a license to inaction. And it is not for the unqualified. It is the ideal purnata of the Jnani. The karma yogin, karmadhikarin has not yet attained that atmarati, atmaprapti, atmatuptaha, etc. Tasmat points to the opposite direction. Since you are not there at Arjuna, you must perform action. The word asakta, as in the commentary, he says once as a prescription and once as an explanation, signals that asakti is the sole determining factor that distinguishes between karma and karma yoga. The external action is identical in both the cases. The apparent, from the outward appearance, both the actions look the same. One is a karma and the other is a karma yoga. The karma yogin and the ordinary person may appear to be performing the same action outwardly. The difference is entirely in the antakarana, the presence or the absence of phalatrishna, the thirst or the attachment for the fruits of action. Also, the kartritva abhimana, the pride of doership, I am the doer. This Advaitic insight is the heart of Karma Yoga. Transformation of karma to Karma Yoga is an inner transformation, not an outer one. Then the Paramapnoti is carefully handled by Shankaracharya to preserve the insistence that jnana alone is the direct means of moksha. He does not read Paramapnoti as attains moksha through Karma Yoga directly. Rather, the sequence is asakta karma will lead you to develop chitta shuddhi, and chitta shuddhi will place you in the fitness for knowledge or jnana yogyata. And when you have the fitness for knowledge, knowledge will take place in you, which will give you the liberation or freedom or moksha. Param is attained through the action in the sense of that action purifies the antakarana, which then becomes capable of receiving the Atma Jnana. Karma Yoga is thus an indirect means or a sadhana, not a direct means for liberation. This distinction is the cornerstone of Advaita, as per Shankaracharya's refutation of Jnana Karma Samuchaya. We may wonder how come Asakta Karma develops the Chitta Shuddhi, which gives us fitness for knowledge, Jnana Yogyata. When we work without attachment, or attachment not toward the action, attachment to the fruits of action, that should not lead us to an inefficient way of acting our duties and responsibilities. There we need to develop an inner equipoise to accept whatever comes. This is what Krishna said in the beginning. Sukha dukkhe samikritva lava lavo jaya jayo. That should be remembered here. So that attitude is the inner equipoise, while the attachment for the fruits of action will release us from becoming inefficient in our actions. So, yoga karmasu kaushalam will be achieved by us. When these two work together, that yoga with the dexterity or the skillfulness, and we do not develop a inertia or a disinterest in our action, that action in its own purity will develop our inner equipment or the andakarana with a possible living or a permanent living state where we will be continuously acting. At the same time, our inner equipments are freed from the expenditure of otherwise which would happen in the fruits of action and the way in which we react to the actions like sukha dukkha, labha, alava, etc. That freeing that intellect or andakarana from these two expenditures of energy from the andakarana is the chitta shuddhi which takes place. Our intellect becomes more efficient. Our andakarana becomes more efficient. And that efficient andakarana is what is called the sattva shuddhi, the positive outlook towards responsibilities and duties. So chitta shuddhi developing to sattva shuddhi, that is the fitness for knowledge. And when that sattva shuddhi happens, more and more sattva, when in the andakarana is moving towards or developing that, the doubts, the negative things which are having as the ignorance, ajnana samshaya viparya, they have no place for their, energy to be available for contaminating our andakarana. The doubts will be less as to who we are. To know that we are neither the doer nor the enjoyer, because we have learned how to live without that doership and enjoyership. So the doubt which we may develop will get negated. That samshaya, whether I am having a knowledge or whether I will achieve it or not, will not happen because we are not looking for the fruits of action. When these two, ajnana and samshaya, has gone, there is no chance that wrong knowledge can ever happen to as to what is our true nature. That is the time when we will develop this knowledge that the non-doer, non-enjoyer, I am that supreme, Param Purusha. This is how the Karma Yoga helps us in developing Chitta Shuddhi to Sattva Shuddhi to Jnana Nishta. And then when we are in the Jnana Nishta, the knowledge is not something outside. When the Ajnana Samshaya Viparyaya is gone, knowledge shines by itself. Therefore, Karma Yoga leads to Param not by itself, but by producing the Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi. Makes Jnana Nishta possible. Just 2 sentences are written by Shankaracharya in the commentary of this one. Tasmat asakta sangavarjita satatam sarvada karyam kartavyam nityam karma samachara nivartaya. Tasmat asakta sangavarjita satatam sarvada. Therefore, being unattached or free from clinging constantly at all times. Here, the asakta, adhikari related statement, sangavarjita is the word used by him. No ownership, no identification, no egoic appropriation. No attachment, no affinity towards inaction, which is the binding factor. Karyam kartavyam nitya karma samachara nirvartaya. Perform obligatory action that is to be done. Carry out the daily prescribed duties. Nityam karma, obligatory, not desire motivated. Karyam kartavyam, that actions which must be done as our duties and responsibilities. Samachara nirvartaya means execute properly, not negligently. So this excludes kamya karma, ego-driven enterprises and arbitrary activism. Therefore, it is a disciplined, guided action towards duties and responsibilities. Why perform it? A question can come. Asakto hi yasmat samacharan ishwarartham karma kurvan. For acting without attachment, performing action for the sake of Ishvara, yatnyartho karmano anyatra. That we saw in the 9th verse. Ishvara, not for the personal gain, but as an offering and relinquishment. To help us in ego attenuation. This transforms the metaphysical status of the action itself. And how does the moksha result? Param moksham apnoti purushaha sattva shuddhi dvarena ityartaha. The person attains supreme liberation through the gateway of purity of minds. The essential qualifier aspects is, it is not a direct liberation, not by karma directly, but through purification of chitta shuddhi, sattva shuddhi to jnana nishta. Therefore, the sequence remains untouched. Nishkama karma removes the removal of the impurity, mala. Thereby, the mind becomes clearer, and a clearer mind, jnana nishta, is possible. And jnana nishta will give rise to the knowledge which is the result is moksha. Thus, karma is an indirect cause, sahakari, not a mukhya this thing. For an ignorant, he must act. An action with attachment will bind, knowing very well that it will be binding. He should do the actions for Ishvara, or surrendering it to the Lord. This purifies him instead of binding him. And that purifying will enable him to be in the path of knowledge, jnana nishta. And that knowledge ultimately will liberate him. And once he is liberated, the knower, jnani, has no duty. There is no doership, no enjoyership. There is no samuchaya possible in this case. It's stage by stage. Therefore, this verse does not contradict 17 and 18. Because Arjuna is not yet a Atmavid. Therefore, he must perform karma. But performing it as yajna without attachment. So therefore, Arjuna must act. Now, in the next verse, 20th verse, Krishna says, Karmanaivihi samsiddhim astida janakadeyaha loga sangraha mevapi sampasyan kartum arhasi. Janakadeyaha karmana evahi samsiddhim astitaha. So, Arjuna, you must act as a karma yogin. For establishing that, Krishna is giving two examples. One is, he is giving the example of Janaka and others, who are kings like him, Arjuna like Arjuna, as examples from the socialist society itself. Now, if Arjuna doesn't want to accept it, then he is also giving this thing that the social order, Loka Sangraham, is for maintaining the welfare of the world. As a king, your duty and responsibility is for that, maintaining welfare of the society. So these two are covered in this verse. So for Janaka and others, indeed, attained complete perfection through action alone. It may appear to be that karma alone gave moksha to, or the complete perfection to Janaka Adayaha. There is a discussion on that. Second one is Loka Sangraham eva api sampasyan kartum arhasi. You ought to act even simply considering the importance of maintaining the welfare of the world, which is your duties and responsibility. The first half provides historical paramana, the evidence of great persons as examples, while the second provides ethical reasoning, the obligation of Loka Sangraha. Together they constitute the independent and complete complementary reasons why Arjuna should perform his duty. Karmana, by action or through action alone. Eva means alone. He means indeed. Samsiddhi, complete accomplishment or perfect attainment or full perfection. It is a object of the astita means attained. Samsiddhim astita means complete perfection was achieved. It's a philosophically decisive and require careful attention. He does not read, Shankaracharya does not read samsuddhi as moksha, directly attained through karma. That would contradict his entire argument of jnana alone is the direct means of liberation. Rather, he glosses this samsiddhi as sattva shuddhi, purification of the sattva quality in the antakarana, which is proximate fruit for Karma Yoga, leading eventually to Jnana Moksha. But he is also giving an alternate commentary, Shankaracharya himself, allowing that some like Janaka may have already been Jnanis who continued to perform action for the sake of Loka Sangraha. Thus their Samadhi was already attained through Jnana and their karma was subsequent, and the ambiguity and purposive, and the ambiguity is deliberate. Samsiddhi encompasses both Chitta Shuddhi for the Karma Yogin still on the path and Moksha for the Jnani who has transcended the path. There are two readings for this, Shankaracharya is saying. If Janaka, etc. were Jnani, they continued to be in the activity or action for Loka Sangraha. Or if you are taking it as path, Janaka, etc. performed karma for their Chitta Shuddhi and Sattva Shuddhi, Jnana Nishtha and Jnana. In either case, Janaka achieved the knowledge, whether he was a Jnani and continued or whether he was a Karma Yogi who achieved the Jnana. The word Janakatayaha is to indicate Janaka, the Videha Raja. And there are, in the Upanishad, Brahma Vidya Jitnyasu, there are examples of other kings like Ashwapati, Ambarisha, etc. Therefore, Janaka is a paradigmatic figure who held both Jnana and Karma simultaneously, making him the ideal example for teaching Karma Yoga directed at Arjuna as a Kshatriya, because Arjuna is also in a Rajarshi. And his duty is Loka Sangraham, the maintenance of social and cosmic order. So the establishment and maintenance of the boundaries and the norms of Dharma in the society is what is called by Loka Sangraha. Lokanam Maryada Asthapanam. For the entire society. Eva api sampashyan is seeing clearly, considering fully, having regarded for. So all those things are, not superficial observation but deep consideration of the full implications of Loka Sangraha. Kartum arhasi. Kartum is to perform. Arhasi is the verb and this is the object here. Kartum is an object for the arhasi, means you ought to perform. You should perform, like that. Or you are fit and it is appropriate for you. Therefore, Arjuna is both qualified to act and obliged to act. That is what Shankaracharya is telling the commentary, that Arhasi is gentler than the imperative Kartum. And Krishna here appeals to Arjuna's sense of Dharma and Loka Sangraha rather than issuing a bare command. So here, Shankaracharya's commentary is that Karmani eva hi yasmad purva kshatriyaha vidvamsaha samsiddhim moksham gantum astitaha pravartaha. For indeed, action by alone, the ancient Kshatriyas who were knowers set themselves on the path of liberation. Purva Kshatriya, earlier rulers, Vidwamsaha, knowers or wise men. Samsiddhi is perfection or moksha. Karmani eva must be interpreted carefully. Otherwise, we will get into a problem. So karma directly produces moksha cannot be accepted by Shankaracharya. Instead, he presents the imperative possibilities. Who are the kings? K. Janakadeha, Janaka Ashwapati Prabhudayaha. They are Janaka and others, such as Janaka and Ashwapati. Both appear in the Upanishad dialogues as seekers of knowledge or knowers. One is in the, and both of them are appearing in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. They were already knowers. Now here is the statement which has put Shankaracharya's criticism as a reason for criticism. Yadi te prapta samyak darshanaha. If those kings had already attained the right knowledge, the word using yadi has put Shankaracharya that he is not accepting Janaka was a knower. But that is not the case. He is using the yadi or the if for the purpose of making clarity for us. So there are a lot of people who criticize Shankaracharya for using the word yadi. Yadi means if that word is used. He didn't put the if questioning the capability or eligibility of Janaka, etc. But the possibility of karma and jnana going together. That is why their continued action requires an explanation. Tataha loga sangrahartam prarabdha karmatvad karmanaha taha eva asanyasaivaha karma samsiddham astita ityartha. For the sake of maintaining the world order, loka sangraha, and because of the force of the prarabdha karma, they attained perfection while continuing to act without renouncing taking to sannyasa or by renouncing the action. Shankaracharya gives two reasons for the jnani's continued action. One is due to prarabdha karma, the body persists due to the past karma. Therefore, they are entitled to continue what the prarabdha karma is for making them do it. Thus, the action may continue without the inner doership. They have become jnanis already. The second aspect is the loka sangraha. Even the knower, a jnani, acts to prevent the social collapse, to guide others. These are the two reasons. Not out of necessity to do the action, but out of compassion and example. Thus, action continues externally. Internally, there is naishkarmya. That is one way of explaining it. The second interpretation is they were not yet knowers. Ataha aprapta samyak darshana janakatayaha. Or else, if Janaka and others had not yet attained the right knowledge, Shankaracharya offers a second possibility. Tada karmanaha sattva shuddhi sadhana bhutena karmanaha samsiddhi mastida iti vyakhyaya loke slokaha. Then the verse should be understood to mean that through action which serves as the means for purity of the mind, they gradually attain perfection. Janaka practiced karma yoga. Karma purified the mind. Knowledge arose later and moksha followed. Thus karma remains indirect cause. So there will be a possible objection for that. how Arjuna may bring in a reasoning for that. Atha manyase purvairapi janagadivihi ajanadbihi reva kartavyam karma kritam. If you think that ancient kings like Janaka performed their duty merely while ignorant, tavata na avasyamanyene anyena kartavyam samyak darshana tavata kritarthena iti. Then it would not necessarily follow that another person who has attained the knowledge and fulfilled his purpose must act. Arjuna might say, if they have acted because they were ignorant, why should a knower act? That's a question which anybody can ask that. Shankaracharya acknowledges the force of the objection, and that is why the Krishna's final reasoning for Arjuna is being explained by Shankaracharya. Tatapi prarabdha karmataya te loka sangraham ayava api. Even so, you being subject to prarabdha karma should act for the sake of maintaining the world order. So Krishna brings the instructions back to Arjuna's situation. He must act because his body and the role continues. The society depends upon him. His withdrawal will mislead others. Lokasya unmarga pravritti nivaranam. Lokasangraha. Lokasangraha means preventing the world from falling into unrighteous conduct. So, Shankaracharya defines the term precisely as not as a vague welfare. It means preventing social disorder, preventing abandonment of dharma, duties and responsibilities, and preventing imitation of a premature renunciation. Tamevapi prayojanam sampasyan kartum arhasi. Seeing that the purpose alone, you must act. Thus, instruction becomes personal to Arjuna. Arjuna must act, not for himself, but to sustain the order. So, Shankaracharya is making a very subtle balance between the two. This verse carefully avoids the three extremes. Ritualism, karma alone gives moksha, is rejected. Quietism, where jnanin must abandon all actions, it has been called qualified. And moral relativism, action unnecessary for the rulers, etc., that also is rejected. That is, insert Shankaracharya is giving that ignorant person should seek for the actions for the purification of the mind. The knower, no action is required. Whereas the knower who is in the society, who has not taken to the sannyasa, may act for loka sangraha and the benefit of the social order. This becomes the turning point in the chapter 3. With this verse, Gita introduces new dimension, loka sangraha. The verses 21 to 24 will explain the influence of great person, why even Krishna acts, even though he is a Jagat Guru, why he is continuing to act, how social order depends upon example. Next verse, Yadyata Acharati Shrestha, is for that example part of it. So the ignorant acts for purification, the knower has no duty binding him, but the knower may still act only for the stability of the world. We'll continue our discussions tomorrow with the next verse where the example part is being discussed. Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much, Binduji. A deep manana on premature renunciation and the three different choices Arjuna has offered. Thank you again. I've opened the chat and hand raising for any follow-up questions and discussions. Namaste, Venkat.
Binduji, I have a question on that. Samsiddhi Mastita.
Yes.
Is this same as Naishkarmya Siddhi? Or
Yes.
this is a state of a Gnani? What is Naishkarmya Siddhi versus just yoga? There's a Yoga Sutra also, Karmashu Kaushalam. Is that Karmashu Kaushalam is same as Samsiddhi? Naishkarmya Siddhi. What is the difference between these? Because this is referred as a precursor to Janaka as a liberated one, yet involved in Lokasangraha, right? In this case.
Yep. Naishkarmya Siddhi or Nishkarmada Bhava is not an inaction. Naishkarmya is Nishkarmada Bhava when it is being said. It is indicating that actions is taking place, but there is no doership on the part of the doer. Where his ego is not involved in the activity he doesn't have the ego. He has sublimated his ego. So he is looking from that point of view that where the karma is not his responsibility. It is not being done by him because he is the Atma, which is a non-doer and non-enjoyer. Yet, the karma is being done apparently for others. They see his body being in a state of performing actions. That is why it is called the apparent action. It is karma chaya, what they call it as in the technical term. So the karma chaya it's a shadow of action. From his point of view, there is no action. From others who have not understood his knowledge, for them it will appear that he is doing the action. That is the Naishkarmya Siddhi. The Samatvam Yoga Ichite, or the Karmasu Kaushalam, which is what is being told about, is that there it is a inner predisposition of the person towards action, not by a knower of the truth. It's not the Jnani's point of view. It is from a Karma Yogin's point of view. The Karma Sukhaushalam is applicable. He is performing with the skill as a yoga where he is not keeping attachment towards the fruits of action. And he is performing it from the point of view that phala trishna, that desire-driven actions from the individual point of view is what he is not deploying. Yet he has not reached the state of non-doership. That can come only through Sattva Shuddhi and Jnana Nishta. And once that happens, the Jnani, when he reaches that Jnani's level, if he is continuing to do his activity, it is from the point of view of Loka Sangraha. So those are the two ways in which you have to see that.
Okay, so the egoless action is the samsiddhi. That's the basic clarification, right, Vidaji?
Egoless action will lead to samsiddhi. Egoless action is not samsiddhi.
Okay, that's a habitual,
Yes.
or okay. Now in that case, suppose someone learns cycling, keep cycling. It will become your own nature. You don't need to practice cycling. You just get onto the cycle. You keep going. That you don't need to. It happens as a practiced action, including swimming, etc. So this is similar, right? It's not different.
No. In those actions, both the cycling and the swimming, you are using the skill for driving, cycling or swimming. But the internal nature is that I am on cycle, I am cycling, or I am in water, I am swimming. He doesn't have the attitude that I am not the doer, the cycling is done by the body, I am not the body, the mind, the intellect. That knowledge has not happened to him. It is from the knowledge point of view, he has not de-identified with the body. He is very much operating in the body level. The ego is still there as I am the bicycle rider or I am the swimmer. That is there.
I think the reason for the example is you don't need to remember I'm cycling all the time.
Remembrance is different, Venkat.
So is egoless action repeated.
No, see, remembrance. Do you have to remember that you are the body, mind, intellect?
You don't need to.
Yeah, that is exactly whatever happens with the body is because you are not remembering you are the body, mind, intellect. It is happening that like the bicycling or the swimming. But when you are having the knowledge aspect, you are not even a doer or forget about the doing aspect. Even the body, mind, intellect are not reality. They are nothing but appearances in the nature of my Swarupa, on the consciousness. In the consciousness, there is no doership or enjoyership. The body, mind, intellect itself is not accepted. So where can the body as a doer or accept as this thing? Without remembering also, performing is itself, that question also doesn't arise there. No? His locus is different. He is no more located in the body, mind, intellect. To remember or not to remember, that is not a criteria at all for him.
Okay. So maybe the parallel is that Rutti, the Brahmakara Rutti, right? The Rutti is a nature. When it becomes Rutti, it's a nature in everything, either conscious or subconscious. The Vritti has gone deep in without any doubts left. Then Samsiddhi is the right wording.
Vritti is still at the Chitta Shuddhi level.
I'm talking about Brahmakara Vritti.
Even Brahmakara Vritti is a Antakarana Vritti. Because Vritti can happen only in Antakarana. In the Akhandakara Vritti or Brahmakara Vritti, when we talk it is still at the intellectual level, where he is able to intellectually understand, appreciate as a part of his Nididhyasana that Sarvam Khaluidam Brahma is possibility, is a reality, and that is he has no doubt in that. But that has not become his Aproksha Anubhuti. His Anubhuti has not happened. The moment the Anubhuti happens, there is no Vritti, no Samsiddhi, nothing of that sort.
I don't know, somewhere, Viduji, there is this mind taken the shape. There is no shape left. Brahmakara vritti means there is no shape left.
Vritti is unnecessarily the mind state, where the Brahmakara means it is the understanding of Brahma. Understanding of Brahma to be Brahma are two different things. In the sense, ultimately, that get dropped, like the Sakshi getting dropped. Even the Brahmakara vritti or Akhandakara vritti get dropped in the ultimate sense. That is the time when it is called samshuddhi. Means even the vritti cannot be is there. He doesn't have a vritti. Yatra na anyat pasyati anyat shrunoti anyat vijanati. So there is no vijanati also, no. So even Brahmakara vritti is a vijana, is a jnana. But jnana at the vritti level. That is why it is called a Akhandakara vritti.
Okay, we can talk further, Viduji. I think there is...
Yeah. There is a set of schools in Advaita who are saying that Akhandakara vritti is the moksha. But Shankaracharya and the Upanishads very clearly says that ultimately when the Videha Mukti happens, only the Purna Mukti takes place. At the mental level, at the bodily level, if the mind is in operation, the Amani Bhava has not happened. That is the time when the Akhandakara vritti is there.
Okay, we can go. Amani Bhava is again Bhava of the mind.
Yes. That same way Akhandakara vritti is again the nature of the mind.
Yeah, it is just a reflection that is not in... It's like a clean mirror.
Yes.
As good as...
not the original, which is reflecting in the mirror.
But everything is a reflection only.
No, there is no reflection at all. Sa ekaha, sa ekam vit. Then dudiyam asti.
From a recognition perspective, it's a mirror only.
Yeah. See, that the recognition, that's why we have to understand what the two things. That at the jnana level, the jnana aspect itself, when become a dhrida nischaya due to the nididhyasana. There what happens is that all the anatma karana, tat hetu is nivaranam. They all have been removed. And then there is no more doubt on that aspect. Yet, it is an intellectual understanding.
Nishchayatmaka
buddhi. But that is the jnani state. Jnani tu me matam. Krishna says that. That is how the jnani is. But ultimately, the operations of the body, mind and intellect, even though he is disassociated with that, he will continue to operate it with the knowledge that I am not the mind, body, mind, intellect. It is the knowledge through which he is operating. That is why that is the time when he is able to do the Loka Sangraha and compassion, etc., which will come in the next verse. We see that at that time.
Sure, Babaji. So I am not body, mind and intellect is also Gnana, in a way.
Yes. Everything is at the Jnana level. But ultimately, what happens is that Jnana will become a shift in the locus where he is no more even he is oblivion to his body, mind and intellect also. The name, body, mind, intellect and the world also, all of them will be absent in his terminology. It is something similar to the Sushupti Avastha.
That's perfect, Bendaji. I think there's no locus in first place after that. Okay.
After after that there is no functioning for him.
Yeah. That's clear, Bendaji. Then only one, I think Srini is waiting. I just have one closure question on this. The Sattva Shuddhi, why didn't, why the other word not used, like, Chitta Shuddhi? Sattva is already Shuddha.
Sattva Shuddhi, there the word has to be understood properly. Maybe I'll explain it tomorrow.
Later, we'll wait on that.
I'll explain it tomorrow. What is the difference between Chitta Shuddhi and Sattva Shuddhi? I'll explain it tomorrow. Okay, Vande. Thank you.
Namaste, Binduji. I can ask tomorrow if we are if you want to take some rest, you can go.
It's a short question or a long question?
I'll ask a short question because I have a lot of questions. So I will ask the short question today, long question maybe tomorrow, Binduji.
Okay.
The short question is the classification or the difference of duty and action you mentioned in today's class, right? So is it that action is something we are calling as one undertakes with his own whim and fancy, whereas duty is done because of, like you mentioned, parents, society, nation, obligations. So is that the right understanding? That's how we differentiate duty and action?
Duty is also action, but all actions are not duty.
Basically, whatever one is doing out of whim and fancy is just an action. It's not a duty. It can't be classified as duty, right?
Yes, but duty is also action only when performed.
Okay. I'll continue this tomorrow, Binduji, because it's going to be lengthy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Srini. Namaste, Ganesh.
Namaskar. What exactly is Gita? Because that came to
Pardon?
What exactly is moksha?
Moksha is freedom, or knowing that you are neither the doer nor the enjoyer, and nothing binds you. Either the doership or enjoyership is not binding you. That is the moksha.
Okay. And if you have time, tell me what are the various verses in the Upanishad and all that is talking. I mean, if it is very lengthy, leave it.
It's very lengthy. We have to. There are a lot of references for that. It's not just possible to answer in one word or one sentence on that.
Okay, sir. We can do it next time.
Yep. Thank you. Prakash?
Yes, shall we close, Binduji?
Yes, please.
Thanks everyone for coming and for those who came up and asked questions, and a special thanks as always to Binduji for guiding us through this deep manana. So the best way to follow up is to listen to the replays and come again tomorrow at same time, 8:30 p.m. IST, at which point you can pick up where Binduji stopped. And Ganeshji, if you want to come on Sunday, we have an open discussion on Advaita, where you can you can have a lot more time to go deeper into moksha, right? And on that note, as a gentle reminder that the replays are available in Clubhouse, or you can look up the channels that I've shared in the chat. Advaita Retold channel on YouTube, the one on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and there's also a book. But if you're interested in the Manana, Sravana Manana, then the replays are available in these points. So again, thank you, Binduji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash, Venkat, Srini, and Ganesh for your questions, and all of you for having been there for listening. We'll continue our discussions tomorrow. Hari Om. Namaste. Good night.
Namaste, Bendaji. Good night.
Hari Om.